This is an instructional video on how to change the gaskets and re-glue them on the back of a beer keg adapter. The first thing we do is we have our new gasket material, and it's about 24 millimeters wide. Just scribe a line the width of the gasket, stop a little bit short, all the way around, and that just acts as a guide for when we're gluing it and scuffing it. Okay. Now I take some Scotch-Brite or sandpaper will work just fine too, and we scuff the surface just up to the line. And you can see the difference in the sheen when you scuff it, so you'll be able to see how close you get. And then over here, since the gasket doesn't go a perfect square, we do kind of a radius. So I just scuff a little more area here just to make sure that it's prepared. Okay, now we're going to use a little rubbing alcohol, paper towel, clean off the excess paint or the paint dust, and just make sure we have a nice clean surface for the glue to stick to. Now it's all sanded, cleaned, and prepped, and ready to apply the gasket. The gasket is taller than it is wide, so we want to put the narrow side down like that. Some of the keg adapters, one stick will go all the way around, but the half keg and larger require one full stick plus a little bit out of a second stick. So what we do on the larger ones is we figure out how much is required, just so we can make it even. In the field, might not care so much, but we always put it down at the bottom, the seam, so it's not noticeable. And in this case, just to be sure, we start off center a little bit like that, and then the piece that we stick in there will be fairly centered. And then so what I'll do is I'll kind of get an idea of where that is by going around. So this one I'll start right about here, and then I'm not going to glue the very end. I'm going to leave it up a little bit here so I can trim this off, just in case I want to make it look a little bit better. So to start with, I am going to start gluing this right here in a minute, but I like to form my radius first in the corner, because you can't make it go right to the corner. We have to first just kind of form a radius, and like to get the radius as tight as possible. So I just hold it there. It's really easy to hold it there. I take a pencil and just mark it, and then I have an idea of where to put my glue. And then I'll just do this as I go around the corners. So we have some super glue. This is extra thick. It's about a 10 to 25 second cure. we like using the thicker stuff versus the thinner because it stays in place. So I'm going to start right about here and go ahead and apply some glue. So I can see my line that I scribed. I'm not going to go past it. So what we do is we apply the glue and we just zigzag back and forth, maybe about a 1/4 inch pitch. And then after we do that, I draw a straight line with the glue on the edge and another straight line on the top. Fill in any gaps you might have missed if you went too big. You hold it there in position for about 30 seconds, I like to do. It is important not to glue bigger than you can hold down with your hands, or more. So I do each side I do in 2 steps, and then each corner is its own step. So okay, so now I'm going to glue the corner and then up to right about here. So I'm going to follow my guidelines. Remember to outline it. Okay, now a little glue seeped out over here, just paper towel, wipe it off. Okay, so I'm going to do this in 2 sections. You want to start your glue as close as possible to the where it's last stuck. On these short edges here, we can go get the whole thing glued all the way up to our next corner. Okay, here we are going to do the last corner. Okay. It's actually gauged pretty well, so I'm not going to have to trim either one of these off. They come out pretty close to centered around this. So I'm going to trim this little piece off here, and then we'll trim a piece to fit in here and continue and glue this down. And I'm not going to go to exactly the end here. The reason is it makes it easier to wedge this in a little bit if we leave the last little bit unglued. Okay, so I cut a piece to fit in there, and what we do is cut it about a 1/4 inch longer than you actually need. That way it compresses in there and holds in there nice. So this is already glued right here, and then I'm going to finish gluing this right here. Okay, so now I'm going to glue this. Just apply our glue here before we put it in. Okay, now when you put it in, you want to get the corner shoved in first before you push it down, or otherwise it starts sticking right away and you don't have a whole lot of time. Okay, so once it's stuck on there, now we're going to glue these together. And do that by simply just separating it and then going back and forth, the same back and forth pattern. Zigzag. Okay, and you want to line them up good before you glue it. And since we cut it oversized, they kind of hold themselves together, oversized. And double check to see if there's any, if we didn't get it all the way. Put a little more glue in right here. Check this one. And then there's a little gap here in the back. Okay, now go around the entire thing, make sure there aren't any large sections we missed, and reapply some glue. Usually it's the corners, mostly. There you have it. There's the gasket glued on all the way, and it's ready to put into service immediately.